In December of 1872, a merchant ship was discovered drifting silently in the Atlantic Ocean. From a distance, it appeared ordinary. Its hull rode the gentle swell of the ocean. Its sails were partially raised, and the rigging creaked softly in the wind. But as the approaching sailors drew closer, it became clear that something was deeply wrong. There was no movement on deck, no crew tending the sails, no signal flags raised, no response to hails from the passing vessel. The ship seemed abandoned, silently cutting through the waves. When a small boarding party finally crossed the water and stepped onto the deck, they found it completely deserted. 10 people had vanished without explanation. No struggle, no bodies, no note left behind, not even a single sign of distress. The ship's name was the Mary Celeste. What follows is not a tale of ghost ships or supernatural speculation. It is a carefully reconstructed account based on historical records, ship logs, sworn testimonies, maritime court proceedings, and contemporary newspaper reports. This is the true story of one of the most enduring maritime mysteries in history. The vessel that would become the Mary Celeste was built in 1861 in Spencer's Island, Nova Scotia. Originally named the Amazon, it was a brigantine, a two-masted sailing ship designed for commercial trade. At just under 100 feet in length, with a beam of 24 feet, it was moderately sized for the time, capable of carrying a significant amount of cargo across the Atlantic. From the outset, the Amazon was marked by misfortune. Its first captain, a man who had invested his personal savings in the vessel, fell ill and died shortly after departure. The crew brought the ship back to port, and subsequent voyages were marred by collisions, groundings, and minor structural damage. By 1869, after sustaining significant damage during a storm, the vessel was sold. The new owners repaired and refitted the ship, and it was given a new name, the Mary Celeste. This was a common practice at the time, often done to signify a fresh start or a change of ownership. Shipwrights certified the vessel as seaworthy, and the Mary Celeste returned to active service, plying trade routes across the Atlantic, carrying cargo for American and European merchants. Though the ship's early history was riddled with incidents, there was nothing structurally unsound about it. For maritime insurers and trading companies, it was a standard merchant brig, reliable and capable, and it soon became known among captains as a vessel that, despite its history, could make the crossing safely under competent command. The brig carried a relatively modest crew for its size, and standard provisions for long Atlantic crossings were stored carefully below deck. The rigging, sails, and hull were routinely inspected, and logs of the ship's maintenance were kept meticulously. In 1872, the Mary Celeste was considered a solid, seaworthy vessel, one that an experienced captain could reasonably trust with crew and cargo alike. The ship's design reflected the technology and knowledge of the mid-19th century. Its two masts allowed for versatile handling in varying wind conditions. Its hull was constructed of oak and reinforced with iron fastenings, strong enough to endure storms and collisions if handled properly. The hold could accommodate hundreds of barrels of goods, including the alcohol barrels that would later play a crucial role in the events that made the ship famous. After departing New York Harbor on November 7, 1872, the Mary Celeste settled into a steady rhythm as it crossed the Atlantic. The ship cut smoothly through calm waters, guided by the experienced hands of Captain Benjamin Briggs and his crew. Each day aboard the vessel followed a disciplined routine designed to maintain the ship's integrity and ensure the safety of all aboard. At dawn, the first mate and watchman climbed the rigging to inspect sails and lines, checking for wear, fraying, or loosened ropes. Sails were trimmed and adjusted to catch the prevailing wind, allowing the brig to maintain a steady course. Crew members rotated through watches around the clock, ensuring that the ship remained under constant supervision. Any lapse could result in damaged rigging, lost cargo, or deviation from the course. Discipline and vigilance were essential. Meals were prepared on schedule in the small galley below deck. The crew ate bread, salted meat, dried vegetables, and occasionally preserved fruits. Water casks were monitored carefully. Fresh water was a limited resource, and sailors were trained to ration it conservatively. The galley itself was compact and functional, designed for efficiency rather than comfort, yet it served as the heart of the ship's daily life. Captain Briggs, his wife Sarah, and their 2-year-old daughter Sophia resided in the cabin at the stern. The cabin contained a small desk for logbooks, charts, and personal belongings. Their quarters were tidy, with every item carefully stored. Captain Briggs maintained his meticulous routine, updating navigational logs, checking supplies, and ensuring the comfort and safety of his family. Occasionally, crew members assisted in watching over Sophia during duties, reflecting a strong sense of responsibility among all aboard. Despite calm weather for much of the voyage, subtle hazards remained. The 1,701 barrels of denatured alcohol in the hold, while properly stowed, posed a potential risk. Alcohol fumes could accumulate, and any spark could have catastrophic consequences. The crew conducted routine inspections, but, according to the logs, found no sign of leaks or vapor buildup. Nevertheless, the latent danger was a constant, invisible presence below deck. The Atlantic Ocean itself provided both beauty and quiet tension. Vast swells rolled beneath the hull, stretching as far as the eye could see. Seabirds trailed the vessel, their calls piercing the stillness. Clouds sometimes gathered on the horizon, signaling possible storms, yet for most of the voyage, the skies remained clear. Nights were quiet and reflective, with moonlight glinting off the waves, casting shadows across the deck. Life aboard included small moments of leisure. Crew members repaired nets, wrote letters to loved ones, read or played cards. These activities offered brief respite from the labour-intensive routines, but all remained alert to any changes in weather or ship conditions. Even a seemingly tranquil day required attentiveness. The ocean could shift suddenly, and the ship depended on constant care. By November 25th, the Mary Celeste had crossed much of the Atlantic. The log entries describe steady northwest winds, moderate seas, and clear visibility. Captain Briggs's final log entry noted the ship's coordinates and condition with no mention of concern. At this stage, the vessel was east of the Azores, proceeding toward its European destination. Although outwardly routine, environmental and mechanical factors may have contributed to what followed. Small leaks in the barrels could have allowed alcohol vapors to seep into the lower hold. The gentle swaying of the ship, combined with friction from shifting cargo or flickering lanterns, could have created a faint but alarming sense of danger. Yet in the log, there was no record of alarm. Crew, captain, and passengers carried on as if it were an ordinary voyage. The routine persisted through the days and nights. Watches rotated, sails were adjusted, meals were served, and logs maintained. The Atlantic stretched endlessly around them, a vast, unpredictable expanse. And unknown to all aboard, the events of the coming days would transform a simple commercial voyage into one of history's most enduring maritime mysteries. On the morning of December 5th, 1872, the crew of the British brigantine Dei Gratia spotted a lone vessel drifting in the Atlantic Ocean. From a distance, it appeared to be under sail, but its movements were irregular. The sails were partially furled, and the ship did not maintain a steady course. There were no visible signs of activity on deck, no flags, and no smoke from a galley. The captain of the Dei Gratia, suspicious but cautious, ordered a small boat to approach the vessel. As they drew closer, the silence became more pronounced. The water around the ship was calm, and the wind carried no sounds of human life. The boarders could see the rigging swaying gently, but there was no crew to adjust it. Every deck plank appeared undisturbed, yet no one was present to account for the ship's strange, aimless drift. When the boarding party finally stepped onto the deck of the Mary Celeste, the situation became even more unsettling. The ship was entirely deserted. Personal belongings were untouched. Pipes lay where sailors had left them. Clothing remained folded neatly, and the cabin spaces showed no sign of sudden departure or struggle. The galley had food prepared, but uneaten. The crew's quarters were intact, as though everyone had left in a hurry, yet there was no evidence of panic. The ship's lifeboat was missing. This was the first clue that suggested the crew had abandoned ship intentionally, rather than being victims of sudden disaster. Navigation instruments, including the chronometer and sextant, were also gone, which would make precise navigation difficult if the crew attempted to reach land. Despite these anomalies, the cargo below deck remained largely untouched. Most of the 1,701 barrels of alcohol were still in place, though investigators would later note that some barrels were empty and a small amount of water had accumulated in the hold. The ship was seaworthy, the hull was intact, and there was no evidence of fire or collision damage. The boarding party conducted a thorough search, noted the absence of the crew and family, but finding no bodies, no personal notes, and no indications of foul play. The cabins of Captain Briggs and his family were in order, with personal effects untouched. The small child, Sophia, had left no trace, and there was no hint of her presence beyond the careful arrangement of toys and belongings. From the moment they boarded, the sailors were confronted with a profound and unsettling silence. Every detail suggested that the ship had been abandoned deliberately, yet no one could explain why or how. There were no signs of struggle, no bodies, no theft, and no external force that could have caused such an evacuation. The initial reports from the Dei Gratia's crew described the atmosphere as eerie, a quiet tension that seemed to hang over the vessel. The gentle rocking of the hull and the fluttering of the sails contrasted sharply with the absence of life. It was a ship in perfect working order, moving as it should, yet utterly empty. The Mary Celeste was towed to Gibraltar under the salvage claim of the Dei Gratia, and the mysterious circumstances surrounding the abandonment would soon become a subject of formal investigation. Every step taken by the boarding party reinforced the enigma. The ship was seaworthy, provisions remained, and yet all 10 people aboard had vanished. Even today, the initial discovery of the Mary Celeste remains a defining moment in maritime history. The calm, empty vessel adrift in the Atlantic serves as a haunting reminder that not all mysteries at sea can be explained, and that sometimes the evidence leaves more questions than answers. After boarding the Mary Celeste, the crew of the Dei Gratia conducted a meticulous inspection to understand the state of the ship and search for clues. The vessel appeared almost normal at first glance, but closer examination revealed unusual details that deepened the mystery. The deck was orderly, ropes lay coiled, sails were partially secured, and personal belongings were in place. The cabins of Captain Briggs and his family were intact, with clothes neatly folded and personal items arranged. The galley held prepared but untouched food, and the ship's small galley fire had gone out naturally, showing no sign of hurried evacuation. Below deck, the cargo hold contained most of the 1,701 barrels of denatured alcohol. Some barrels were partially empty, while a few showed signs of leakage. Investigators later noted that a few barrels made of red oak, slightly porous, might have allowed fumes to escape slowly. The hold contained a small accumulation of water, but nothing that could have threatened the ship's buoyancy. Navigation instruments were missing. The chronometer, sextant, and other tools essential for accurate navigation were gone. This suggested that the crew had departed intentionally, perhaps believing the ship was unsafe, yet the vessel remained perfectly seaworthy. The lifeboat was absent, indicating that the crew had attempted to leave the ship voluntarily. Whether the lifeboat was tethered and later lost or carried off deliberately was impossible to determine. No bodies were found, and no evidence suggested violence, piracy, or sudden disaster. The captain's cabin and crew quarters were particularly telling. Personal items were untouched, showing no signs of struggle or panic. The small child's toys and clothing remained neatly arranged, indicating that the family had not been taken violently or forced to leave in haste. Every detail pointed toward an orderly departure, yet one without explanation. The ship's condition extended to its structural integrity. The hull was sound, sails and rigging intact, and the vessel showed no signs of storm damage, collision, or fire. The minor water in the hold was consistent with normal leakage in ships of that era and posed no immediate risk. The cargo barrels, aside from a few minor leaks, remained secured. In short, the Mary Celeste was fully capable of completing its voyage. The atmosphere aboard the ship was tense and unsettling. The Dei Gratia's crew noted the silence and emptiness with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. The gentle sway of the deck, the distant sound of the ocean, and the faint creak of the rigging contrasted sharply with the complete absence of life. Investigators would later speculate that the alcohol cargo might have contributed to the crew's decision to abandon ship. Escaping fumes, combined with a flickering lantern, could have created the perception of imminent danger. Whether this fear was justified remains unknown. Despite the ship's apparent safety, every observation reinforced the enigma. The Mary Celeste was a ship in perfect working order, provisioned for a long journey, yet entirely abandoned. The orderly state of the decks, cabins, and cargo suggested a deliberate, controlled departure, but the reasons for leaving remained a mystery. The initial inspection concluded with the decision to tow the Mary Celeste to Gibraltar. Salvage rights were claimed by the Dei Gratia, and the ship was taken under tow for further examination and legal inquiry. The boarding party remained baffled, and their accounts would form the first formal records of the ship's abandoned state. After the Mary Celeste was towed into Gibraltar, authorities quickly organised a formal inquiry to determine the circumstances surrounding the ship's abandonment. The vessel arrived on December 15th, 1872, under the supervision of maritime officials, and the situation immediately drew attention from the local press and shipping community. The abandoned ship was unlike anything they had encountered, seaworthy, provisioned, and yet completely empty. The inquiry was thorough. Officials examined the ship, its cargo, and personal belongings. They questioned the crew of the Dei Gratia, who had discovered the vessel, and gathered detailed reports on what they had observed. Every plank, rope, and barrel was inspected, as well as the cabins of Captain Briggs and his family. Despite this scrutiny, investigators found no conclusive evidence pointing to the cause of the crew's disappearance. Testimonies highlighted the peculiar state of the vessel. The Dei Gratia's crew described an eerie calm, with the deck orderly, personal items in place, and provisions untouched. They noted the absence of the lifeboat and navigational instruments, and the partial emptying of some barrels of alcohol. No signs of struggle, fire, or storm damage were present. Investigators concluded that the ship was abandoned voluntarily, but the reasoning remained elusive. Public reaction was intense. Newspapers across Europe and America reported the story with fascination and speculation. Headlines described the Mary Celeste as a ghost ship, and theories ranged from piracy to supernatural intervention. Editorials debated whether fear, accident, or human error had led to the crew's disappearance. Maritime authorities, however, remained cautious, emphasizing that speculation should be separated from evidence. The salvage court in Gibraltar eventually ruled that the Dei Gratia was entitled to a portion of the ship and cargo under maritime law, as the salvaging vessel had found the abandoned ship and ensured its safe arrival in port. While this legal procedure proceeded, the mystery of the missing crew dominated public discourse. Letters, reports, and editorials proliferated, each offering conjecture or explanation, but none could account for the disappearance definitively. Investigators considered several possible explanations. Piracy was deemed unlikely due to the absence of stolen goods or signs of struggle. A sudden storm or collision was also improbable, given the ship's intact hull and rigging. The cargo of alcohol and its potential fumes was a recurring focus, raising the possibility that fear of explosion prompted the crew to abandon ship. Other suggestions included navigational error, mutiny, or even natural phenomena such as water spouts, rogue waves, or gas emissions from the ocean. Despite extensive questioning and analysis, the inquiry produced no definitive answers. Testimonies from the Dei Gratia's crew, combined with Captain Briggs's meticulous logs and the physical evidence aboard the Mary Celeste, suggested a deliberate abandonment. Yet, the reasons behind it remained a matter of speculation. The mystery captivated the public imagination. Writers, journalists, and amateur investigators debated theories for years to come. The tale of the Mary Celeste became emblematic of the dangers and uncertainties of the sea, a reminder that even experienced sailors aboard a sound vessel could encounter inexplicable events. Even today, the Gibraltar inquiry remains a primary source for understanding the case. The documents record the thoroughness of the investigation, The state of the ship upon arrival, and the puzzling absence of 10 people who had seemingly vanished without a trace. The combination of evidence and ambiguity cemented the story of the Mary Celeste in maritime history as one of the most enduring enigmas ever recorded. Following the Gibraltar inquiry, numerous theories emerged attempting to explain the mysterious disappearance of Captain Briggs, his family, and the crew of the Mary Celeste. While none could be confirmed, careful consideration of historical evidence allows us to explore several plausible scenarios. One commonly discussed theory involves the ship's cargo of denatured alcohol. Alcohol produces highly flammable vapors, and a minor leak or spill could have allowed gas to accumulate in the hold. Lanterns or other small sparks may have ignited the fumes, causing the crew to fear an imminent explosion. Historical records indicate that some barrels were partially empty or had seeped slightly, supporting the possibility that the crew abandoned the ship in panic, even though the vessel itself remained safe. Another theory considers environmental factors. Rogue waves or sudden changes in weather may have created the impression of imminent danger. While there is no evidence of storm damage when the ship was discovered, unusual atmospheric conditions could have alarmed the crew. Similarly, waterspouts, shifting currents, or even localized gas emissions from the ocean were suggested as natural phenomena that might have induced fear or prompted evacuation. Accidental causes related to navigation have also been proposed. Without the chronometer, sextant, or proper navigation tools, the crew may have feared they were off course or in peril. Misjudgment or uncertainty about their location could have led to the decision to take the lifeboat, even in calm seas. Psychological explanations are equally plausible. The prolonged monotony of life at sea, combined with the potential danger from the cargo, may have heightened anxiety among the crew. Panic can spread quickly, especially when inexperienced or fearful sailors perceive imminent danger. Captain Briggs's own concern for his family could have influenced a hasty decision to abandon the ship, intending to reach land safely, but ultimately leading them into the open ocean without means to navigate accurately. Piracy, though often suggested in sensational accounts, is largely discounted by historians. There were no signs of violence, theft, or struggle aboard the ship. Likewise, mutiny is improbable given the loyalty, experience, and cohesion of the crew, as well as the orderly state of the vessel and cabins. Some theories even speculate about more extraordinary causes. Supernatural or paranormal explanations gained traction in newspapers of the time, but they have no historical or factual basis. Still, the mystery inspired a multitude of imaginative stories and interpretations, cementing the Mary Celeste as a legendary ghost ship in popular culture. Scientific and maritime experts generally favor rational explanations involving environmental hazards, accidental fears of explosion, or human error under stress. Evidence supports the notion that the ship was abandoned voluntarily in response to perceived danger, rather than any sudden catastrophic event. The precise combination of factors, however, remains unknown. The mystery endures because the evidence supports multiple, plausible interpretations. The Mary Celeste was seaworthy, provisioned, and capable of completing the voyage. The cargo presented a potential hazard, but no actual disaster occurred. The lifeboat was missing, and the crew vanished, leaving behind a ship in orderly condition. The absence of definitive clues allows the story to captivate historians, maritime enthusiasts and mystery seekers to this day. Even modern investigations continue to examine the ship's logs, cargo conditions, and historical context. Researchers have simulated scenarios involving alcohol fumes, weather conditions, and psychological responses, but no single theory fully accounts for every detail. The enduring appeal of the Mary Celeste lies in this combination of fact, conjecture, and the unknown, a perfect maritime enigma. After the Mary Celeste arrived in Gibraltar, the mystery continued to attract attention across Europe and America. Maritime officials, historians, and curious citizens examined every detail available, but the ship offered no answers. Despite the Gibraltar inquiry, the disappearance remained unsolved, and the story became part of public fascination, growing in both newspapers and books. Subsequent investigations focused on corroborating details of the voyage. Experts reviewed Captain Briggs's meticulous logs, the ship's maintenance records, and accounts from the Dei Gratia. Each report confirmed that the vessel had been in good condition when found, fully provisioned, and capable of completing its journey safely. Yet these confirmations deepened the mystery. A sound, prepared ship was abandoned without apparent reason. Some historians revisited the ship's design and cargo, exploring whether structural issues or chemical hazards could have prompted an evacuation. The alcohol barrels, though mostly intact, may have leaked fumes, which could create an impression of imminent danger. Experiments in controlled environments have shown that alcohol vapors, if accumulated in confined spaces, could alarm even experienced sailors. The lifeboat's absence remained a critical clue. It indicated that the crew had left intentionally, yet no record exists of where they intended to go or how they planned to navigate without instruments. The Atlantic in December was cold, often turbulent, and navigation without a sextant or chronometer would be extremely risky. This alone suggests that panic, rather than calculated reasoning, may have influenced the decision to abandon ship. As decades passed, the Mary Celeste captured the imagination of writers and the public. Articles, books, and lectures examined every theory, from the plausible to the sensational. Ghost stories and supernatural explanations flourished in popular culture, despite the historical evidence favouring rational causes. The ship became a symbol of maritime mystery, a reminder that even experienced sailors and reliable vessels could encounter inexplicable events. Researchers have also examined the social and psychological context. Captain Briggs, as a cautious and devoted family man, may have acted out of concern for his wife and daughter. The crew, bound by loyalty and discipline, may have followed him into the lifeboat, trusting his judgment in the face of perceived danger. This human element adds depth to the story, suggesting that fear and responsibility may have combined to produce a tragic, yet rational, outcome. Later sightings of the vessel, records of similar abandoned ships, and comparisons to maritime accidents of the era further fueled discussion. Analysts have compared the Mary Celeste to cases of sudden abandonments caused by panic, chemical hazards, or misinterpretation of natural phenomena. While some parallels exist, the combination of circumstances in the Mary Celeste case remains unique. The legacy of the ship extends beyond its disappearance. It has inspired novels, documentaries, and academic studies, all exploring the balance between fact and conjecture. The story teaches lessons about vigilance, human psychology, and the unpredictable nature of life at sea. Even today, the Mary Celeste serves as a cautionary tale. Preparation and experience can mitigate risks, but the ocean remains unpredictable and sometimes inexplicably dangerous. In essence, the mystery persists because the ship offers no definitive conclusion. Each investigation, historical study, and experiment can explain some elements, yet the complete answer remains just out of reach. It is this combination of evidence and ambiguity that continues to make the Mary Celeste one of the most enduring maritime enigmas in history. In the years following the Gibraltar inquiry, the Mary Celeste continued to captivate historians, scientists, and maritime enthusiasts. Advances in technology and scientific understanding allowed researchers to explore new possibilities for what may have happened to the ship's crew. One focus has been the cargo of denatured alcohol. Experiments in controlled settings have demonstrated that alcohol vapors can build up in confined spaces and ignite if exposed to even a small spark. While no explosion occurred aboard the Mary Celeste, the perception of danger could have been enough to provoke panic. Experts suggest that the crew may have evacuated in the lifeboat, fearing imminent disaster, only to be lost in the open sea. Simulations of the ship's behavior during calm and stormy conditions have also been conducted. Researchers analyze how the brig might respond to sudden waves, shifting wind, and minor structural stresses. These studies indicate that while the ship was capable of handling the conditions recorded in the log, unexpected factors such as rolling waves or uneven cargo shifts could have alarmed the crew. Panic in such situations, especially if the family was involved, may have seemed like the only safe choice at the time. Historical psychologists have examined human behavior under stress to better understand the likely actions of Captain Briggs and his crew. Studies of maritime psychology show that even experienced sailors can make irrational decisions under fear of perceived hazards. The orderly state of the ship suggests a controlled departure, yet it does not preclude a hasty decision driven by anxiety or concern for loved ones. Debates over possible natural phenomena continue. Some suggest that sudden gas releases from the ocean floor, water spouts, or freak waves could have created conditions that seem threatening, prompting evacuation. Others argue that navigational concerns, such as fear of being off course or trapped in unseen currents, may have influenced the decision to leave the ship. Modern reconstructions of the Mary Celeste voyage have been conducted using scale models and computer simulations. These studies confirm that the ship was fully capable of completing its journey and that environmental conditions alone were unlikely to cause the crew's disappearance. However, the combination of minor hazards, human psychology, and the presence of family aboard could have created a perfect storm of fear, resulting in the ship's abandonment. Despite extensive research, no single theory fully accounts for all the facts. The Mary Celeste remains a case study in maritime history, a vessel abandoned under circumstances that challenge conventional explanation. Each new analysis sheds light on some aspects, yet the overall mystery endures, maintaining its status as one of the most intriguing enigmas of the sea. The fascination with the ship has influenced literature, film, and even psychological studies. Writers have drawn on the story to explore themes of fear, decision-making, and survival. Scientists have used the case to study how humans respond to perceived threats, while historians examine the legal and maritime procedures surrounding abandoned ships. In all of these studies, the core facts remain unchanged. The Mary Celeste was found in good condition, provisioned and seaworthy. The crew and family had vanished without trace. The lifeboat was gone, and the navigational instruments were missing. These immutable details anchor the mystery, even as analysis and speculation evolve with new knowledge. The story of the Mary Celeste quickly transcended maritime records to become a fixture in popular culture. Newspapers and magazines of the late 19th century sensationalized the event, often describing the ship as a ghost ship or attributing supernatural causes to the crew's disappearance. While these accounts were not historically accurate, they captured the imagination of readers and ensured that the tale would endure for generations. Authors and playwrights incorporated the Mary Celeste into novels and dramatic works, emphasizing suspense and mystery. Some depicted the crew vanishing under the influence of sea spirits or curses, while others explored more human-centered narratives of panic, fear, and tragic miscalculation. These stories, though fictionalized, contributed to the enduring aura of the ship and heightened public fascination. Maritime folklore also embraced the ship. Sailors and travelers spoke of the Mary Celeste as a cautionary tale, a vessel that appeared ordinary but carried hidden danger, reminding crews to respect the unpredictability of the sea. The term ghost ship became synonymous with abandoned vessels, and the Mary Celeste became the archetype of this phenomenon. In addition to literature and folklore, the ship influenced modern media. Documentaries, television programs, and films have examined the mystery, blending historical fact with dramatization. Researchers often emphasize the rational explanations, cargo hazards, environmental conditions, and human psychology. Yet the allure of an unsolved mystery ensures that the ship continues to be referenced in popular culture. The mythos of the Mary Celeste has also inspired educational inquiry. Historians, maritime archaeologists, and psychologists use the case to explore decision-making under uncertainty, the management of risk, and the history of transatlantic trade. Schools and museums feature the story as an example of critical thinking, emphasizing evidence-based reasoning alongside historical documentation. Despite its fame, the Mary Celeste is more than legend. It represents a real historical event, grounded in careful records and eyewitness accounts. The ship's condition, the logs, the Gibraltar inquiry, and the testimonies all provide tangible evidence. Yet the absence of the crew creates a narrative space for speculation, allowing both scholars and storytellers to explore a wide range of possibilities. Even today, the ship's legacy is evident. Books and research papers continue to analyze the case, while creative adaptations keep the story alive in public imagination. The Mary Celeste serves as a bridge between fact and fiction, history and legend, a vessel that reminds us of the ocean's mysteries and the enduring human fascination with the unknown. Ultimately, the Mary Celeste demonstrates how historical events can evolve into cultural touchstones. While the facts provide a framework, myths and storytelling enrich the narrative, creating a multi-layered legacy that continues to engage audiences more than 150 years after the ship's discovery. The mystery of the Mary Celeste remains one of the most enduring in maritime history. Even after thorough investigation, extensive analysis, and centuries of speculation, no definitive explanation has emerged to account for the disappearance of Captain Briggs, his family, and the crew. The ship was found seaworthy, provisioned, and orderly, yet completely abandoned. The lifeboat was gone, navigational instruments missing, and no trace of the 10 people aboard has ever been found. What makes the story so compelling is the combination of certainty and uncertainty. We know the ship's condition, the cargo it carried, the meticulous logs maintained by Captain Briggs, and the accounts of those who first discovered it. Yet, within this framework of facts, the human element introduces questions that may never be answered. Fear, perception, and decision-making under uncertainty could have led to a tragic but understandable outcome. The Mary Celeste teaches lessons about the unpredictable nature of the sea. Even experienced sailors on a reliable ship can encounter situations that challenge logic, courage, and judgment. It reminds us that preparation and knowledge are essential, but cannot fully eliminate risk. It also highlights the importance of careful observation, thorough investigation, and evidence-based reasoning when analysing historical mysteries. At the same time, the story captures the imagination in ways that go beyond facts. The idea of a ghost ship drifting silently across the ocean evokes suspense, curiosity, and wonder. It has inspired countless works of literature, film, and academic inquiry, proving that some mysteries endure precisely because they resist full explanation. The Mary Celeste occupies a unique space between history and legend, fact and folklore. Modern researchers continue to study the case, exploring everything from chemical hazards to psychological reactions, navigational challenges, and environmental factors. Each study adds nuance, suggesting plausible scenarios that could explain the crew's disappearance, yet none can account for every detail. This ongoing investigation ensures that the Mary Celeste remains a source of fascination, teaching us both about human behaviour and the timeless unpredictability of the ocean. In the end, the Mary Celeste serves as a reminder of the delicate balance between human skill, environmental forces, and the unknown. It encourages curiosity, critical thinking, and respect for the sea. Its story resonates not because of supernatural elements, but because it is grounded in human experience, uncertainty, and the eternal mystery of what lies beyond the horizon. As we reflect on this historic vessel, we are left with the haunting image of a ship sailing silently across the Atlantic, perfectly intact, yet carrying a secret that may never be revealed. The Mary Celeste remains a symbol of maritime mystery, a testament to the courage of sailors, and a reminder that some questions may remain forever unanswered, drifting endlessly like the ship itself on the waves of history.